Hi, and welcome to this short Empower training video. In this session, we're going to look at slide updates, how they work and how you can use them to push updates through different presentations when you've used a slide from one presentation. So I'm going to go into the library, that's where it all happens, and in here I've got various content that I can reuse. So for this one, I'm actually going to go into here and I've got a file here called How to Use Slide Updates. And what I want from that is this one with the diagram. So I'm going to insert that. Oops, there we go. So here's my slide. I've only inserted it twice. I'm going to delete one of those. And basically this sort of outlines it. It's the updates work on slides, and the slide itself needs to be in the Empower library to start off with. And then once it's in the library, it's given a unique object identifier. So now that I've inserted it into here, it's still got that link. It knows that's where it came from. So if I click here on go to, it's going to take me straight to that position, that file, and that's where I inserted it from. Now this new one, this is now the child. And so I can save this. In fact, I'm going to call it child. And there we go. And I'm going to save this file. This file can live on my local drive or it can live back in Empower. It doesn't matter. It's still got that unique identifier. I'll just save that onto my desktop for now. There we go. And I'm now going to close this. And now everything's fine. I've made that link. But what happens if my master, so the one in my library, changes? So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to make a change to that file, to that document, that slide. And again, it doesn't matter whether I take the whole book out or whether I just insert this slide and then overwrite it. So for now, I'm just going to insert the slide. I'm going to make an edit to it. I'm going to call this one updated links process. Oops, I'll even spell it right. There we go. And I'm going to save that back into the library. I can use the save and it will just overwrite, or even save as. Then it will see, you can see it's taking me back to there and it's given me the option to overwrite because it recognizes that it came from the library originally. So I'm going to overwrite it, wait for that to sync and wait for that to finish its sync. It's still uploading, still syncing, but it'll come through in a couple of seconds. While it's doing that, I want to show you some other things in the library view. So when you first come into the library, I'll take that off. I think names is usually set by default, but there we go, it's finished. That's good. But when you go in, you can see all your different objects, but you can't see the extra level of details. I'm seeing the names, but not the extra details. So if I tick that on, you'll actually start seeing a little bit more. So I can see this one's one of my favorites. It's got the star on it. So I've just obviously right mouse clicked and added it to my favorites library at some point. But if I double click that, we'll go in and you can see some of these now. I've got these, see without that they don't show, but with them they do. But they've got these little dots on. The red ones mean it's a link and the red means it's a parent. Let's go into a different file. Let's go to this one maybe. And we'll see here I've got links, but these aren't the orangey red ones. So this means it's a child. So there's a parent. The little red dot means it's a child and it's out of date. It means the parent's changed, but this one hasn't been updated. So anywhere where you see these little link symbols, you can go in up here to your toolbar. And by the way, if you can't see it, just open up that tiny little arrow at the side. And now I can see this whole set. So I can see my update links. I can go in here and I can say manage update links. And it's going to show me what's going on with this slide, who it's linked to and what's happening. So it's telling me this, oh, sorry. It's telling me this is one of my link copies, but this is the root, this is the parent, this is where it lives. These are all outdated. So actually I can go click on this one and I can push these links. I can update the link copies and it will flow through and update all my other documents. You can control it and choose which ones to update. So I could just update one of them, for example, or I could just push it out to all of them. So it's up to you what you do with them. These are documents that are already in the library. And whatever's in the library, when I go into the update links, it's telling me the kind of story of who it's linked to within the library. So let me just go back to this one. This one had a lot of the parent ones, and this is the actual parent of that file. So when I manage update links, here it's telling me, there we go, this is the parent. And again, these are the children ones. So that was the file we were in before. So it tells me, do I want to push that out and update that? In this case, I actually do. I am going to update all my link copies. I'll do all of them. You can even break links as well. So for example, you think actually this one's out of date, you know, actually I'm going to disconnect that one. That one doesn't need to follow the master anymore. Here we go, that's filtering through. But the other two, so now I've only got 2 children, I'm going to push this out, these updates out. So I'm going to, I've made changes and I'm going to share that update into the other 2 files. So there we go, that's pushing through. And it's looking out, good, lovely. It's gone through and it's going to tell me, just refresh that, I shall go back into it and see. I was in that one, wasn't I? There we go. Why is it not pushed through? It should have done. It might just be that it hasn't updated. I'll push it through again anyway. Let's just see now. Ah, there we go. Now it's up to date. Okay, that's perfect. Sometimes your children, you'll want them to be either updated or to be changed. Let's try that one. I think I've got some in there. Yeah, so here these are all outdated, but this one, for example, is newer. This one's means this one has changed, rather like these ones haven't changed, but the parents changed. So it's saying the parents changed and now I'm out of date. But this one is saying newer because saying this child has changed. What do you want to do? So again, I could break it and say disconnect, saying actually this one's going to have a whole different, it doesn't need to follow their parent anymore. It's going to have its own path. So I could break that link if I wanted. Okay, let me close that now. So that's sort of within your within the library itself and managing those links through the library of different files you've got in there, because you'll use these sort of core slides in other presentations. And this update links is where you're going to track those changes and see what happens, see whether you want to push those changes, those updates out to the child files. One thing to be very wary of, as changes are only will flow down from the parent down to the children. If the child changes, that's fine. The parent doesn't care. The child can change and do what it wants. But or it's only a one-way street. If the parent changes, you've got the choice whether or not to push those changes through down to the linked copies. Now back to our other file that we saved on our local drive. So I changed this by putting updated here and I saved it back into the library. So now I can open up our file that we had earlier. And when I open it, even though it's from the local drive, it's gone in, it's checked, it's done a quick check on it. It says, actually, do you know what? I found a file in there and it's not in date anymore. So it's registered that difference. I can click on the little magnifying glass here and it's going to show me them side by side. There we go. So this is my child one, this is my updated one. I can put this on and it's actually showing me this is where my changes have occurred. So then it just gives me a little bit more information that I can decide whether or not to push that change through. So I can say, actually, do you know what, keep my original, or I can say, no, actually, do you know what, push that through. So now I need that to be the most updated content. There we go. So now I can go off, build my new book, knowing I've got the absolute latest version, and it doesn't matter that it's been saved on my local drive. There's one little issue I wanted to point out, and that is if your document has been saved on SharePoint. Let me just move that over there a second and I will find you a file that lives on SharePoint. There's just a very slight difference in the behavior if that file lives on SharePoint. Let me find you something. There we go, that will do nicely. Yes, there we go. I have got one. There we go. This one. There we go. So I'm opening this file. Oops, it's opened in my other window. There we go. It's opened in my other window. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Sorry, here we go. This is the file I've just opened in my other window, so I had too many in there. Now, instead of checking like the other one did and immediately prompting and saying, hold on, it's out of date. Because it's in SharePoint, it's tried to go and check and it said, actually, it's in SharePoint, so I can't go all the way and check. But there may be changes, so click here and check for updates. If I click on this, then it will run that check and actually go in. It's going to go through these slides and it's going to say, okay, same thing. Here we go. I found loads that are out of date. What do you want to do with them? So I can do it on a slide by slide basis and decide which ones to update, which ones not to, which ones to break links. But that's just one slight little thing to be aware of. If it's in SharePoint, it won't automatically throw up the update wizard, what it will do is just say there might be changes, click here to just double check. Just because it needs another step to go through to the SharePoint OneDrive files that are in there. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. Yeah, so enjoy using updates and see what they can do for your presentations. Okay, thanks very much.